The message lit up my screen like a slap. "They're still ashamed of me," I whispered, my heart twisting with old wounds. "The Bennett family reunion is this Thursday at the Grand Horizon Hotel. Don't show up. No failures allowed." I leaned back in my leather chair, the skyline of downtown Seattle shimmering through the 50th floor windows of my executive suite. The Grand Horizon Hotel wasn't just the most luxurious hotel in the West, it was mine. 12 years ago, a message like that might have crushed me. Now, it almost made me laugh. "They're clueless about who I am," I muttered, a spark of defiance igniting. Another text followed. "We have an image to uphold. Don't embarrass us again." "Embarrass you? I'm your biggest success," I scoffed, my voice low with resentment. I glanced up at the gilded portrait on the wall, me shaking hands with the Horizon family on the day I acquired their historic hotel brand in a $320 million 0-cents buyout. But no one in my family knew that. To them, I was still Sophie Bennett, the dropout who left business school at 28 to play hotel concierge instead of following the family's path of executives and investors. They never asked what happened after. You never cared enough to ask, I thought, my jaw tightening. They didn't know I worked every shift possible, housekeeping, front desk, valet, learning the industry from the roots up, or that I turned a tiny boutique in Boulder into a 5-star destination within 4 years. They certainly didn't know that I now ran one of the top hospitality groups on the West Coast. Another message blinked through, this one from my cousin Ethan. "Mom says, don't show up in your old concierge uniform, it's not cute anymore." "You'd choke on your words if you saw me now," I hissed, gripping my phone. These days, my uniform was a black silk blouse and a tailored blazer, but Ethan wouldn't recognize that kind of success if it held a press conference. My assistant Megan buzzed in. "Mrs. Bennett, the quarterly revenue report's on your desk, and the Carson family confirmed the transfer of their Portland resort." "Perfect, and the Bennett family reunion booking confirmed. They reserved the Horizon Ballroom and ordered the Diamond Champagne package. Would you like us to include it on their final invoice?" "Let them think it's a gift," I said, a sly grin smiled. Aunt Margaret had bragged online for months about hosting the reunion at Seattle's most prestigious hotel. "She's using my empire to boost her ego," I muttered, my blood simmering. I stood, straightened my jacket, and glanced once more at the lobby camera feed. Let the family enjoy the grandeur. The Bennett name wasn't just on the invitation, it was etched in gold above the entrance. No, let them think it's complimentary for now. I set my phone down and swiveled in my chair, the view of downtown Seattle glowing in the evening light. The family group chat was still pinging non-stop. Plans, RSVPs. To Niece's excitement, my mother had chimed in now. "Please understand, Sophie. Your aunt just wants everything to reflect well on the family. The Grand Horizon Hotel has standards, you know." "Standards you'll never meet," I shot back silently, my eyes narrowing. "Oh, we did have standards, just not the kind they assumed." I opened my laptop and clicked into the guest profiles my team had compiled for the Bennett family. Aunt Margaret had been flagged at multiple luxury hotels for attempting to use expired credit cards. "You're a fraud, Aunt Margaret," I thought, my lips curling in disdain. Cousin Ethan was notorious for demanding comped upgrades and berating front desk staff. "You're a bully, Ethan," I muttered, my anger flaring. And Uncle Henry blacklisted at 2 chains after harassment complaints from housekeeping. "You're a disgrace, Uncle Henry," I said, my voice cold. The only reason they'd been accepted at my hotel was because they didn't know I owned it. Another buzz. Clara, my younger sister, and the only one in the family who knew the truth. "Are you seriously going to let them walk into your empire like that?" "They're awful, Soph. They'll regret every insult." I texted back, my fingers trembling with resolve. "Don't worry," I typed back. "I've got something special planned." Clara had been there from the beginning, when I worked 15-hour days, flipping rooms and shadowing managers. When I took out my first business loan. When I bought my first boutique hotel off Pearl Street. She believed in me before I even had a front desk of my own. "Promise me you'll record the moment," she messaged. "Already done," I replied. "Security footage, every angle, multiple backups." "This will be their reckoning," I added, my pulse racing. I leaned back, remembering the moment Aunt Margaret kicked me out of her home during Ethan's engagement party. My offense? daring to bring up that his fiancée had been sued 3 times for fraud. "You silenced me then, but not now," I thought, my heart pounding with defiance. When the scandal broke weeks later, the family acted like I was the one who embarrassed them, not the one who tried to warn them. A knock broke my thought. "Come in," I called. Michael Reed, my head of security, stepped in, tablet in hand. "Miss Bennett, I finalized Friday's surveillance plan. Are you sure you want to wait until they're all inside before we make the reveal?" I smiled. "Yes. Let them soak it in. Let them toast. Let them believe they belong here. Let them dig their own graves," I said, my voice steady with intent. Michael nodded. He'd been with me since that first little inn. He knew the best reveals happen after the final glass is poured. He'd seen how hard I'd worked, how many nights I'd slept in storage closets between shifts, how many holidays I'd spent on the overnight shift while my family drank champagne and, Michael asked, "Cancel them." "All of them?" He raised an eyebrow. "Even your parents?" I paused, remembering the day I told my father I was leaving business school. "No daughter of mine is going to be a receptionist in some hotel," he snapped. "If you walk away from business, you walk away from this family." "You disowned me first," I said, my voice cold with resolve. "Especially my parents." Michael nodded and made a note on his tablet in the ballroom set up. "Strip it down. Everything except one table, one chair. Leave the chandeliers dark except one spotlight on that chair." Michael chuckled. "Psychological warfare. I like it." After he left, I wandered to the floor-to-ceiling windows of my executive suite. The Seattle skyline blinked back at me, the Grand Horizon Hotel's spire glowing above the streets where I once walked home in hand-me-down boots. This city watched me rise, not on family favors or last names, but grit, sacrifice, and resolve. My phone buzzed again. Aunt Margaret, of course. "We've hired photographers. Please don't ruin the photos. The Grand Horizon has very high standards." "We'll choke on those standards," I murmured, my eyes gleaming. I smiled, running my fingers along the gold-etched nameplate on my desk. "Sophie Bennett, CEO and owner, Horizon Hospitality Group." "Oh, Aunt Margaret," I murmured. "You don't even know what our standards are." The rest of the week was meticulous. I reviewed security protocols, camera angles, and staff roles. My employees, many of whom had been humiliated by my family over the years, were thrilled to participate. Some even offered to work overtime for free. Wednesday night, I called Clara. "Are you ready for tomorrow?" "Born and ready," she laughed. "Cameras charged. I've got angles planned like a film director." "This is our moment," I told her, my voice buzzing with anticipation. Then a pause. "But, are you sure about this? They're still your family." I looked at the framed photo of my younger self in a faded concierge uniform. They stopped being family the day they made me feel like a stain on their reputation. "They'll learn who I am," I said, my heart set. I glanced toward my closet. Tomorrow, I wouldn't wear a designer suit. I would wear that uniform pressed clean and symbolic, the same one I wore when they dismissed me as nothing. Now they would kneel beneath my name carved in stone over the doors they dared to walk through. If you've ever been underestimated or told you'd never make it, you won't want to miss what happens when they walk through those doors. So hit subscribe and join me for the moment they realize exactly whose name is on the building. Sometimes the best revenge doesn't need words. Sometimes all it takes is the perfect costume for the perfect moment. Friday morning arrived in Seattle with crisp skies and golden sunlight that filtered through the Grand Horizon Hotel's grand archways. The kind of flawless weather that couldn't be bought, only earn. I stood by my office window on the top floor, dressed in the neatly pressed concierge uniform I hadn't worn in a decade. It felt strange but powerful. "They're starting to arrive," Michael said through the intercom. "Your Aunt Margaret just tried to demand early check-in. She's about to be humbled," I thought, a smirk forming. I smirked. "And when you told her the rooms weren't available, she asked to speak to the owner, and you said that the owner would be making a grand appearance shortly." On the security feed, Aunt Margaret was posturing near the marble fountain in the lobby, her voice rising as she gestured furiously. "You're in my house now," I muttered, watching her tantrum. Cousin Ethan stood beside her, tapping aggressively at his phone, no doubt preparing a venomous Yelp tirade. Write all you want, Ethan, I thought, my eyes narrowing. My parents had just walked in. My father in his tailored suit, lips pursed like he'd smelled something sour. You'll beg for my forgiveness, I vowed silently. My mother was draped in pearls. I knew she'd borrowed from a friend with better credit. Your facade's crumbling, Mom, I thought, my heart cold. Ballroom is set, Michael added. One table, one chair, spotlight as requested. And the folder? I asked, patting the thick binder on my desk. Inside it. Every dismissive text, every email where they mocked me, every online post bragging about leaving me out of important family events, plus guest records cataloging their years of entitled, disimportant papers. And most importantly, the hotel's ownership papers. Clara's in position with her camera. Michael said that I sent a message to the family group chat. Hope you all enjoy your time at the Grand Horizon Hotel. The service here is excellent. The responses were instant and cruel. Aunt Margaret, how would you know? They'd never let you in the lobby. You're about to eat those words, I snapped, my pulse racing. Ethan, go back to answering phones. You'll choke on that insult, I hissed, my anger flaring. Mom, Sophie, please, don't ruin this for everyone. You ruined me first, I thought, my resolve hardening. I watched as they read the message, still laughing, still convinced I was beneath them. Start phase 1, I said into the intercom. Minutes later, the front desk began turning them away one by one. Your reservation? It's been canceled. No, there are no rooms available. And no, the owner isn't available to speak with you just yet. And Margaret's face turned blotchy with rage. Feel the sting, Aunt Margaret, I murmured, savoring her panic. Me and I've just watched... Victoria burst into tears the moment she realized there would be no suite for her to change in before the reunion. Cry all you want, Victoria, I thought, unmoved. My father, never one to go quietly, began tossing around legal threats, only to be met with a polite smile and the statement, "The Grand Horizon Hotel has exceptional legal counsel, sir." Phase 2, I said into the intercom, watching the chaos unfold on screen. Our concierge staff, practiced and poised, began guiding the increasingly agitated Bennett family toward the grand ballroom. But as the ornate double doors opened, their excited chatter faltered. No floral arrangements, no gold-accented tables, just a cavernous dark space and a single spotlight shining down on one empty chair. There must be some mistake. My mother's voice rang out tight with embarrassment. No mistake, Mom, I whispered, stepping forward. No mistake, Mrs. Bennett, Michael answered smoothly. The owner asks that each of you step forward one at a time into the light. This is outrageous, Margaret shrieked. Do you even know who we are? I demand to speak to the owner. I stepped through the ballroom doors. Your request is granted. Face me now, I declared, my voice echoing with authority. Silence fell like a dropped curtain. Every head turned. 40 pairs of eyes locked on me. Standing there in my old concierge uniform, folder in hand, I watched confusion bloom into disbelief. Sophie, my father's voice cracked. What are you doing here? Why are you dressed like the failure you called me? I shot back, my eyes blazing. He trailed off. Like what? I walked calmly to the spotlight. Like a concierge. Like someone beneath you, like someone you disowned because she followed her own path. If this is a joke, Margaret began, but I cut her off. It's not, though. Watching your meltdowns over canceled reservations was a highlight. I reached the light, lifted my chin, and faced them. We don't cater to guests who scream at staff. We don't honor expired credit cards, and we certainly don't serve people who confuse money with character. Victoria gasped. You're just the receptionist. I'm your worst nightmare, I retorted, my voice sharp with defiance. I smiled. Actually, I'm the owner of this hotel in the Horizon Hospitality Group, 20 properties across 3 continents. I opened the folder and let it fall open with a clean, satisfying puh. Let's take a little walk down memory lane, shall we? I began reading their words, their insults, their betrayals. My mother's voice trembled. That's impossible. Mom, I asked gently. That your so-called failure daughter now owns the ballroom you're standing in? You mocked me. But I built an empire, I declared, my heart pounding. The most exclusive hotel in the city, I echoed. And the person you wouldn't even invite to Christmas now owns the keys? I could buy and sell this family 200 times over. But the rooms... Margaret sputtered. Cancelled, I said coolly. On my orders, just like this reunion. I let the silence stretch. The Grand Horizon Hotel has very high standards, and we don't host events for guests who belittle service workers. You can't do this, Ethan shouted. All my friends are coming. This is humiliating. You humiliated me for years, I fired back, my voice steady. Humiliating? Like being told I'm an embarrassment? Like being excluded from every family milestone for not fitting your little fantasy? I turned toward the back of the room. Security. Michael stepped forward with his team, calm and professional. Please escort everyone out, I said. If they resist, we have footage. If they escalate, we have documentation from every hotel they've mistreated staff in, and if necessary... Well, the press always needs material. Sophie, please. My father stepped toward me. You don't get to beg now, I snapped, my voice cutting through. No, I said firmly. Where was this energy when I needed you? When I was answering phones at 2:00 a.m. just to pay off a business loan? When you told me I was throwing my life away? The security team guided them out, protests and sobs trailing behind them like a broken parade. Oh, and one last thing, I called after them. The champagne you ordered, the one you assumed was complimentary. You'll each be receiving a personal bill with a service charge. Once the ballroom emptied, Clara emerged from her discreet filming spot. That was legendary. But seriously, are you okay? I've never been better, I said, my voice trembling with triumph. I looked around at the vast, quiet room. Where once I was denied a seat at the table, I now owned the table. I'm perfect. That evening, I changed back into my usual outfit and watched the Seattle skyline burn gold with sunset. My phone buzzed endlessly. Calls, texts, voicemails, some apologetic, others enraged, all deleted. The next morning, every major society page ran the headline, Hotel Empire Aries shuts down family reunion over class discrimination. They praised my rise from overlooked concierge to hospitality mogul. A month later, an envelope arrived from my father, handwritten and now written address-a-damned, and I hadn't decided yet whether to open it. Inside the envelope was a formal letterhead from Bennett Keene, my family's legacy investment firm, an offer to join as a named partner. I sent back a concierge uniform and a handwritten note. No thanks. I prefer owning buildings, renting offices inside them. The Grand Horizon Hotel only grew stronger. Its reputation for discretion, luxury, and integrity made it a beacon in the West hospitality scene. I made it a core policy to hire and promote those who, like me, had started at the bottom. People with grit, curiosity, and no safety net. Every new employee heard my story, not as a revenge tale, but as a reminder. Real success isn't inherited, it's built. One late night at the hotel, I slipped on that old uniform and walked the halls, not out of nostalgia, but reverence for the girl I used to be, the one who vacuumed sweets while her family snickered behind her back. She wasn't broken. She was becoming, and now everyone knew it. The Bennett family never hosted another reunion at a luxury venue. They couldn't. Word travels fast among high-ex hoteliers, and apparently my story resonated. Some even framed it in their offices. A reminder that success doesn't always arrive in a designer suit. Sometimes it wears a name tag and carries keys. Like the spotlight in the ballroom. During orientation tours, I'd pause beside it and I'd tell the story of the day I stood beneath that beam in a concierge uniform, teaching my entire family a lesson they'd never forget. It wasn't about vengeance. It was about value, and proving once and for all that I became someone no one thought I could be. Sophie Bennett, hotel magnate, CEO, founder. I proved them wrong, I whispered, my heart full of pride. Not bad for a so-called failure. Hey, if you felt something watching this unfold, if you've ever been dismissed, underestimated, or told you're not enough, hit that subscribe button and stand with me. Your support isn't just for my story. It's for everyone who's ever started at the bottom and dared to rise. I want to hear from you. Drop a comment below. Tell me what part of this hit home. Let me know if you've ever worn a uniform they looked down on only to build something no one saw coming. Your voice matters here.